ETS Mets from New York. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where they go to meet the Mets. Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats, where they go to meet the Mets. All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a brawl from the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell, give 'em a hand, and let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your
Okay, well, thank you everyone and welcome to Network with Pride, Meet the Mets. I am very excited to have you all here today, and this is a new program that the Career Center at Hofstra has developed, and we are partnering with the Graduate Business Career Relations Office, and it's a way for us to still connect with our employers that would like to learn more about Hofstra students and recruit the talented candidates that we have here. So this is a new series, so you want to check Handshake because we're going to have a whole roster of employers that are going to be joining us for different events, which will typically be held on Wednesdays, but you want to check Handshake for the dates and times, and you'll look for Network with Pride and information about the different employer partners that will be coming to speak with you online, since we are not on campus at the moment. But even though we're not on campus, we have so many different resources in order for you to still connect and really kind of focus your energy on preparing for the next steps, whether that be an internship or a full-time job. We are so excited to share that we have an online career fair scheduled for Wednesday, April 15th from 10 to 2, where you can log in just like a regular career fair where you go in person and still connect with employers that are looking to recruit interns and full-time hires. And if you've never ever gone to a virtual career fair, on Tuesday, April 7th, we have a how to prepare for a virtual career fair. So you can log in via Zoom, so you're prepared and ready to go. So that's about a week or so before the fair on the 15th. And in case you want to connect individually with a career advisor, you can still schedule appointments through Connect. And every Wednesday, we have a different type of workshop on careers, and there's quick questions that we offer via Zoom. And then you can check Handshake in all of our social channels for other events that we have and ways for you to gain support for your career development. So today we are absolutely thrilled to have Aaron Ryley here from the Mets. Aaron is an account executive with Group Services, and he also is a member of the management and training program with the Mets. He is a UConn alum and was very involved, and he'll share a little bit about that with sports management while he was there. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Aaron and thank him so much for joining us. For those of you who have just tuned in, you can do speaker view, so you'll be able to see Aaron as he begins. But Aaron, thank you. I'll let you take it away. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your role with the Mets and kind of, more details about your position and how you transitioned from college to career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be the guinea pig for networking with Pride. I've been using a ton of Zoom calls over the last few weeks or so as I'm transitioning working from home for the time being. So I'm relatively familiar with this platform. Highly recommend, if you have not used it at all, that you do look to use this. And similar to what Jenna said before, really take advantage of this downtime as much as you can. As easy as it is to just kick your feet up and watch Netflix all day, which believe me, I've felt guilty of some days, or playing video games or whatever it may be. Really take advantage of this time to better yourself. You're never going to have this much time at your disposal to button up your resume, do mock interviews, and really put yourself in a position to apply for jobs or apply for grad school, whatever that looks like. So really don't see this as this is a time for me to just kick back and relax, and it's an extended vacation, extended summer. Really use this time to use the resources that Hofstra's provided you, that Jenna mentioned, and really use that to your advantage, because it's times of crisis like this where you can really separate yourselves, because everyone knows how easy it is to just kind of lay back and do nothing. But I'll get off my soapbox. I did want to give a plug for Hofstra. I think they're doing a great job giving you guys resources for you to use at your disposal. But a little bit about myself. Again, like Jenna said, my name's Aaron Ryley. I'm originally from Poughkeepsie, New York. So I always knew that I wanted to work in sports. I had a passion for it, but wasn't really necessarily sure that that was even a possibility. Believe it or not, in high school, I actually wanted to be a chemical engineer. I was really good at math and science. That's what I wanted to do. But I ended up creating this street hockey league in my hometown where I just want to get a bunch of friends together and let's play a sport. And street hockey is a little bit different than basketball. All you need is a ball and a hoop and you're good to go. But street hockey, we had to fundraise a ton of money to get goalie pads and goals and sticks. But I'm a big hockey fan. I know Hofstra's got a connection to the Islanders, which is my favorite team, so I always got a soft spot in my heart for Hofstra. But put together this hockey league and had an absolute blast doing it, from fundraising to building out the schedule to getting teams together and the draft and T-shirts and everything, you name it. I was like, wow, this is really fun. I've never had so much fun putting work into something and being passionate about it. So that's what led me to pursuing a career in sports. So I applied for a lot of sport management schools and things along those lines. Eventually ended up on attending UConn. So at UConn, you don't guarantee yourself in the sport management program. It is something you still have to apply into, which is at the end of your sophomore year. So knowing that, I wanted to get as involved as possible as on campus with the athletic department to set myself up for success when I was ready to apply for that position or for that school. So I got involved. I worked in the athletic operations department, which I'm still repping my polo. I don't know if that's a good thing that it still fits me 5 years later or not, but nonetheless, so that was a lot of game day operations, working with the opposing teams, working with officials, things along those lines, and really being on the event side of the business. I also worked in athletic marketing, so I was tearing my rotator cuff, throwing T-shirts into the upper deck, and running the subway shuffle and things like that. So that got me exposure to the marketing side of the business. I was also the president of the Sport Business Association there, which allowed me to network and learn a lot about different aspects of the sport industry by bringing in guest speakers who would share about their experiences and really kind of get a gauge of what I wanted to do when it was post-graduation. So spoiler alert, I did get into the sport management department, which was great. And from there, I had to land an internship as part of that program. So I was applying for a whole slew of jobs, a lot of marketing jobs, which I thought was kind of where I was leading towards at that time, as well as a few sales positions because I knew I enjoyed connecting with people, building relationships, and I thought that's something that could be a strength to me, but not something I had any experience doing. And I ended up connecting with the Mets. And after a pretty lengthy process, I was lucky enough to land that internship in the summer of 2016. I got to see a little peek behind the curtains of what sales was. I think sales has a misnomer. When people picture sales, they picture Wolf of Wall Street, shoving product down someone's throat, or they picture the sleazy salesman who's just in it to make a quick buck. And I kind of had a similar perception going into it, but as soon as I got involved with the internship, I quickly learned that that was far from the case. What's really cool with our internship program is that you do the exact same thing as what an inside sales rep does that starts full-time in June. So obviously in an internship role, it's only 2 to 3 months while you're away from college before you go back for your senior year. But I got to do exactly what the full-time roles who were graduated were starting in June, and that was basically being a sales rep. So after an extensive 2-week onboarding process where they gave us all the tools necessary to succeed, teaching us how to sell, teaching all of the products that Mets have at our disposal to sell, learning all the different intricacies of the different platforms that we use. I got to basically hit the ground running, and the main thing with our sales process is it's a lot of cold calling, but the end goal of those calls are one, to build a lot of rapport with your clients so they feel that a genuine connection. They're not just talking to someone that's looking to sell them something. And the ultimate goal of that call is to book an appointment. And what's really cool with that is it's not like we're trying to sell over the phone. We try to build a genuine connection with each of our prospects. So what that appointment looks like is typically a VIP tour of the stadium. So they get to come down, tour the stadium, get to see behind the scenes, see things that the average fan wouldn't get to see. They're decked out in their Mets gear. They're getting really cool pictures of them sitting in the dugout, and it's a really awesome experience for them. And it becomes much more of a consultative meeting, like, what do you like most about the Mets? How could I help enhance your experience? Versus, you should buy this because I want you to buy it and this helps me. So that was something that I quickly learned that I really enjoyed about it. I kind of thought it was just strictly cold calling, and I was just going to be trying to sell people over the phone, which can be incredibly challenging. I know I don't even answer answer most robocalls that I get. I'm guessing a lot of you can echo that. So the internship went really well. When I went back to school, UConn, my senior year, I knew sales is what I wanted to do. And I didn't even know at the time that UConn had a professional selling program. So when I got back to UConn, it turned out that my sales internship with the Mets qualified as credits for that. And it also a marketing class that I'd already taken also qualified. So I only needed 2 additional courses to fulfill the minor. And that allowed me a lot more exposure to sales as a whole on a macro level from different industries outside of just sports. So I learned a lot within that, and also could tell that sales was a long-term path for me and not something that was just an internship that I kind of tried out and didn't necessarily like. So when the Mets offered me full-time, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. And ironically enough, it was just the people at the Mets are what drove me there and why I'm still there today and why I continue to build a career there. Seeing how much passion they have, the investment they put into me, the investment they put into everyone, and how much time and effort goes into building what we have is what I was so attracted to. And ironically enough, that I was actually a diehard Phillies fan growing up. So not a Mets fan whatsoever. So a huge piece of advice would be, I always say, chase after people, don't chase after a logo. I don't know if you could see way in the back there. I'll try to move it a little bit closer. There's some Phillies logos on my childhood bedroom that I grew up in. So it was definitely the Mets people that drove me there and why I'm still there today. So when I started inside sales, a little background on what that position looks like, and that's the position that's referenced both on an internship, which is a shorter time frame, and the full-time position, is a 9 to 12 month program. Basically what that program looks like is it's an opportunity for you to separate yourself from your peers and those that are both leaders on the floor and also leaders on the revenue board are going to put themselves in really good positions to get a promotion into the next level, which is our account executives. Account executive roles fall under the new business season ticket sales department, the group sales department, as well as the season ticket account services department, in which you're servicing season ticket holders. So during my time in inside sales, I was at the bottom of the board for quite some time, didn't get off to a great start despite me even having a little bit of experience selling during my internship. So I think it's really easy for young sellers to get down on themselves and are used to instant gratification. And a huge thing in sales is having the ability to overcome adversity and not let yourself get down when you're not doing well. It's a dangerous game in sales to scoreboard watch and see how you're constantly compare yourself to your peers. So what I really tried to do was just keep in my own lane, focus on myself. And we say it's a kind of cliche, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Once I stopped caring when someone was hanging up the phone or didn't want to meet with me or whatever, or said the Mets stunk, whatever that looked like. Once I stopped caring and just picked up the phone and got into the next person and really started letting my personality show through, my clients quickly recognized that and were far more willing to meet with me. Like, wow, whether it was they were a huge Mets fan and wanted to buy something, or whether it was like, hey, that guy seems like he wants to give me a tour. Seems like a cool guy to hang out with for an hour. So, and that allowed me, once I got in front of them and showed them some of the unique things we had to offer, I really started to excel and was lucky enough to gain a promotion into the group sales department. And within the group sales department, I've held 2 different roles over the last 2 years. I started off in a sales-focused role where I was solely seeking new business opportunities. So a lot of our different true groups out there, first responders, youth baseball initiatives, we have a whole slew of nonprofit organizations, unions. So basically it's kind of you trying to drum up business yourself and we will put a cool theme day around it. And then we look to build that out by prospecting and finding potential groups that would make sense for those outings. That was a main focus of my first year and still a focus today. But now I'm focused more on a group services role where I oversee a book of business of clients that have repeat clients or clients that have, at the very least, have done business with us the previous year. And I make sure to give them the best possible experience, continue to grow their groups, expand them into different opportunities, and maintain and grow that book of business. So that's what I'm currently doing. But what I'm most excited about here with my current time at the Mets is this management and training program, which I'm lucky enough to be a part of. So it's a very prestigious program, one that not a lot of sports teams in the industry have. So I knew that I always wanted to get into leadership, and that was something I was passionate about. I love being a mentor for people. I love getting in the weeds with someone and making sure that I'm able to get them to their end goal. So that's something that's always been a passion for me. So by having access to a program like this, which I was lucky enough to be chosen for after a pretty lengthy application process, I now get the ability to train, recruit, and develop some future leaders of the industry. I also get to work with great universities like Hofstra, where I connect with people like Jenna, people like Darlene, and I get to connect with campuses and meet with students that were in my shoes not too long ago that are trying to either get their start in sales or get their start in the sport industry, and help get them to where they want to be. So as part of this program, I lead floor-wide trainings. I get to work with colleges. I get to work on the recruiting side. I get to work a little bit in the hiring side of things. So that's something that's given me really unique exposure that a lot of other teams don't have, that will set me up very well for the future, as several people have gone on from this program to lead their own inside sales teams, such as the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Washington Wizards, San Jose Sharks. I'm drawing a blank on one, and a couple internally as well. So within this program, the end goal for me would be to continue to climb the ranks. So I go on to be hopefully a director of inside sales, in which I'd be leading my own sales team, recruiting that sales team, and look to get them to that account executive level. And then the light at the end of the tunnel, where I hope to get one day, would be the chief revenue officer of one of the major 4 sports leagues. So that's a little bit about the path that I'm on. A little bit more about what we look for in applicants and what we look for in our recruiting path is ultimately people that have sales DNA. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but just someone that's able to hold a conversation, someone that's fun to talk to, someone that communicates in stories. Things along those lines go a really long way when connecting with prospects. And that's ultimately why it's not a specific major we're looking for. It's not, if we only looked at sport management students or we only looked at business students, we would miss out on a slew of great candidates all across the board, which is ultimately why we always look to connect on the recruiting side with the career services departments of each school, because I think they have access to obviously the student body as a whole. And there's so many people within the walls at Citi Field that are from a wide range of majors, from criminal justice to communications to accounting to business to sport management. So we really look for the top candidates all across the board, and sales DNA is a big component of what we look for. Another thing we look for is someone who has the ability to overcome adversity. I teased that out a little bit before, but huge thing in sales. Naturally, you're going to hear no a lot more than yes. So I can go back to the classic baseball analogy. If you get a hit 3 times out of 10 at bats, you're a Hall of Famer. If you do that in sales, you're putting a lot of money in your pocket, and a lot of money in the organization's pocket. So obviously, you're going to hear a lot of no's. Got to be able to overcome that adversity and be hungry and learn and build from it is a huge component of that. Another thing that we look for in candidates is someone that's looking to grow a career in sales. So I think there's another common misnomer out there that people think sales is a great way to get your foot in the door. I think that's something that we hear all the time. Like, why are you passionate about this position? Why do you want to get involved in the Mets sales program? And a lot of the common answers we'll hear is that, oh, it's a great foot in the door. You have to start in sales. Ultimately, I want to go do marketing. Ultimately, I want to be the GM of the team and make the trades and sign the free agents. So I think that's something that we hear a lot. Something we preach here at the Mets is we're really looking for someone to grow a career in sales, someone that's passionate about sales and sees that as a career path. I'd be lying if I said when I first got involved with sales that I had back in my mind, like maybe I'll go on to be the GM one day. I've quickly given up that dream, and I've now see that sales is really my true passion, where I want to grow a career, but just something I wanted to tease out there. I know that foot in the door is a common theme that people hear and what they say about sales. If possible, I try and remove that from your vocabulary if you're looking for applying for sales roles. But I think I touched on just about everything. Anything that I missed there, Jen? I know I talk fast too, so let me know if I got to go over anything again.
No, that was a great overview, Aaron. And I really loved what you mentioned about, chase the people and not the logo. I think that's a great takeaway, because oftentimes, we can sometimes overlook opportunities if students are maybe looking for like a brand name company or something specific they have their heart set on. And it's more so the opportunity and the people they'll be working with. But this is a good time for us to pause to see. I know we have a few students that are tuning in, and sometimes, you may have your own questions that you might want to ask.
Sure.
So I just want to open it up in case anyone has any questions. You can unmute yourself and ask a question for Aaron.
could be a quarantine-related question. It could be what I like to do for fun. Doesn't have to be. But let's get some questions going. I want to make this more of a two-way dialogue opposed to just me lecturing you guys.
Hey, if you don't mind me asking, Aaron, what was the application program? What was the application process like for the program that you're a part of? I know you mentioned that it was really lengthy.
The management training program, or the actual internship that I landed back in 2016.
The management training program.
Sure. Great question. So the management training program, what we do with that process is basically the leadership team. We say all the time, every day is your interview. So basically every day you step in those doors, the leadership team has eyes on all those account executives that are looking to potentially get into the management side of the business. So I guess that in a way is a lengthy interview process, knowing that every day you're kind of on trial, so to speak. But with that is basically they'll nominate a select amount of people. There's roughly maybe 25 or 30 people. So they'll nominate people that they think are on the cusp or think that they're a worthy candidate of the program. From there, it's an interview process, building out a presentation, presenting to the leadership team, and basically saying what it takes and why you think you belong in this program. And it's something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. The beginning, I started with inside sales as an intern back in 2016. So to be in that role now is something that something I'm certainly very proud of, and something I want to continue to bring that great name to, and hopefully land a leadership position here in the next year to 2 years, whatever that looks like.
Well, just to add to that, maybe you could talk a little bit about what the application process was like for the internship program when you applied a few years ago.
Sure. Yeah, I know our process has changed slightly, but I know for my internship process, basically it was a lot of over the phone interviews, similar to what we likely would have planned if we weren't in a pandemic mode. I likely would have done a campus visit to Hofstra and met with students, but ultimately it was multiple phone interviews, an in-person interview at UConn, and then I attended a group interview day where there was several candidates flown in from variety of places, and was lucky enough to land that position. As far as now, what our process looks like, and I can put it in the chat here also if anyone hasn't checked it out, but look at me using Zoom. If you go to mets.com/inside sales, that's a really good representation of what I spoke about before, but as well as Handshake, those are both great ways to apply to the program. From there, there'll be a hire view portion. So you'll basically do an online interview where a question will come up. You'll get 15-20 seconds to prep your answer. You'll answer those questions, kind of go through that. Us on the management training side, we'll go through those, and based on those hire views, we'll then land a phone interview, which typically comes from myself or one of my peers in the management training program. Depending on where we're at in our hiring process, the next step may be an in-person interview. It may be a conversation with our director of inside sales, Nick Spur, or it might be an invitation to one of our on-site hiring workshops or something along those lines. So does that answer your question, Jenna?
It does. And I see, a few more students have joined us. Any questions from students? And if you can just unmute yourself if you're ready to ask a question. So you can either press your space bar or go over to the mic and unmute yourself if you need to do that.
Kyle's got a question. I can tell.
Kyle, do you have a question? I'll unmute Kyle if he needs help. There you go. You're unmuted now, but I don't hear you. Do you want to type your question into the chat?
I like that he has AirPods, though. It's a good look. I got this. It looks like a video game headset the IT team gave us in this pandemic. So every time I go on a call, someone's like, "Is it use that for video games?" I'm like, "No, but I probably should."
I got one too, Aaron. I have to.
Did you get the one, the brand that I said?
Mine's a little bit different. I'll show you another time. It's
right.
The thing. I think it's better for like your sound. I'm
okay.
sure it sounds a little bit better with the headphones on. We'll
yeah.
see if Kyle. Yep. Okay. What would be the best way for you personally to get better during this quarantine? So
great question.
I think he's meeting better in a more competitive candidate.
Great question. Yeah, I think during this quarantine, I would try to read as much as possible. I think for the last 3 years, my um, New Year's resolution is to read more, and every year I'm like, eh. But this year, I'm so far so good. I'm 12 books. I'm got 3 down through March, so hopefully I'll keep that pace up. I really have no excuse if this pandemic continues, so try and read as much as you can. I would try and do a lot of, if there's an industry in particular you're passionate about, if it's sales or if it's working in sports, see if you can find different resources like that. I think using the career services department, again, like I mentioned before, is a huge way. Like I know when I was at UConn, I probably annoyed the people at the career services department. I was there for mock interviews. I was there for resume critiques. I was in there for cover letter critiques. But like, I think ultimately that separates yourself. You'd be surprised how many people just kind of just half-ass, excuse my language, a resume and submit that. Like the more you can show that you're buttoned up goes such a long way, especially when someone's fielding a lot of applicants. If you can find a way to separate yourself with those by being more buttoned up, or the verb choices, whatever that looks like, that goes a really long way. And two, I would just say from a physical perspective too, like the last thing you want to do is just sit around and do nothing. Even if you can't get outside, like find like a home workout thing, things along those lines, and try and keep as much structure in your day. I think it's easy to, I'm going to watch Netflix, I'll do that. If you can say, I'm going to wake up at 8, I'm going to get a workout in, I'm going to do my virtual class from 10 to 2, like as much as you can keep structure in your day in a time like this, the better off you'll be.
And it looks like we have another, thank you, Aaron. It looks like we have another question in the chat for tips for preparing for virtual interviewing. So I know you said phone interview is part of the process for applying for the internship, but I'm imagining that this type of video interviewing, something like HireVue, if you're the person making the hiring decisions, what are you looking for in candidates that maybe have to do a phone or video interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big thing for HireVue is as much as you can in the video setting, obviously look professional. Don't be taking the interview in your bed. Don't be, even if it's just top up. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm wearing sweatpants, but I do have my polo on. But things along those lines, I think, go a long way. But as much as you can, I know it's a little bit challenging, but have your personality show through. Try and get outside of your comfort zone. Don't be like very straight up and like answer the questions monotone. Like use some hand motions, things like that. Like show your personality as much as you can. I know that can be challenging. And then two, just from how the HireVue works, the question will be displayed and then you have a little bit of time to prepare your answer. So really think too, I would try and jot down a couple bullet points. I want to make sure I hit on these. And then if you do get stuck for a second, have that as a glance down, be like, okay, that's what I wanted to touch on. Like, if I'm watching that, I'm not like, oh, they're unprepared for the interview. They're looking like, that shows to me that you are prepared. You're very invested in this. You want to make sure you hit your talking points. So that's another thing I'd recommend.
That's a great tip, Aaron. Thank you. It looks like Lauren has a question about, in terms of how many interns and inside sales people are you looking to hire and what's your time frame?
Sure. Right now, we're obviously in such a unique time. So I don't know exactly what the hiring process is going to look like. Typically, our largest inside sales classes are in June. The only time for interns is in June. It's a June to August program, but for a majority, the largest hiring classes we have will be in June. That's usually between 12 and 16 people roughly. And then throughout the year, depending on kind of organizational needs, we may have classes throughout the year. So our admissions is always open. There's never a time that our job posting comes off Handshake or comes off Mets.com/inside sales. That's always ready and available at your disposal. It just kind of comes down to organizational need. At this point, I don't have too much to share as far as what that's going to look like in the coming months, just because there's so much uncertainty. But it's a rolling application, always available, and even for sophomores and things like that. Like we do put people on our radars that we're having conversations with that when they do come time to that rising senior for internship opportunities and things like that. So I don't have as much transparency on that as I would like, but that's kind of a general overview of what our application process looks like.
That's great. Thank you so much, Aaron. So speaking of opportunities, I did want to take a moment to share the screen and show some students. One of the opportunities that we currently have posted on Handshake is the inside sales representative at the New York Mets. So that job posting is online on Handshake, and students can submit their applications. And finally, just another quick plug for our online career fair that's happening on April 15th. So that's a way for students to connect with lots of different employers, to learn about jobs and internships, and continue to engage in their career development. So I wanted to, thank Aaron so much for his time and coming here today. Aaron, this was amazing. This was our opening day for Network with Pride. So thank you so much.
Thanks for playing the Meet the Met jingle. Usually I have that running through my head nonstop. I've missed it the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate you getting that back on my radar.
I know, and we're all excited for baseball to start up again. So we'll be crossing our fingers that we get a season this season, and we'll be rooting for the Mets.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. Please feel free. My name that's listed in the chat here, but I'll type it in as well. Please feel free to add me on LinkedIn as well. Happy to be a resource for everybody who took the time to be a part of this call or watches this on the back end once it's posted. Looking forward to continuing to grow this relationship with Hofstra, and hopefully we'll have some pride joining the ranks in the sales department with the Mets in the near future.
Great. Thanks so much. And to all the students for joining us, thank you for coming to the Network with Pride series. Take care. Thanks everyone. Guys.